Hello everyone, good evening. Today is November 6th, another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps from the community and daily teachings. Relatively a slow day today, guys. Um, After big days on Thursday and Friday, market made a big move at open, then chopped, and then tried to fade down, and then bounced a bit. So there was not much in the marketplace. There were not many news plays. There were not many gappers, and most of the market made its big move right at open. So most of the market made its move at right at open. So there was not enough left for later in the day. We tried to trade some stuff like Meta. It didn't work out fully. I mean, we were profitable. So we'll discuss that. We'll discuss how the levels today were pretty important today. If you look at the levels, so let's quickly look before we go into our watch list and the other trades we did today. Let's look at the levels. So if you see, the levels were pretty clear today. IWM, the support was 174.30 and it faded, and we will talk about how it faded under that level. And then AMD 112.50 was the support pivot. So what does support pivot means? It says if support breaks under EMA Cloud, it's a short idea, right? If support holds and bounce over EMA Cloud, it's a long idea. So anybody who was trading these names at open, like AMD or Apple was a different setup that I will talk about it, which I shared on Twitter in a bit. And then there was Microsoft over this pre-market level. So Nvidia initially held that level and tried to push and then chopped. So most of those levels were a good guidance, but again we had this chop. So what is a chop? Chop is when you see something trying to hold the same level up and down the EMAs, up and down, up and down. So there's a same range, no higher lows, no higher lows, no higher highs, or no lower lows or lower highs. So price stays around the same level. So anyways, we had those levels, and let's look at our watch list. Today's watch list was pretty small. There was not much on the watch list, although we were able to make some good trades. So Tesla was on top of the watch list. Then BNTX, which was on the watch list, which we had tried to trade, didn't work out, took a small loss there. And then Dish was on the watch list, which faded, but I did not plan, because it being a $5 stock, I didn't have any plan for it. But in a hindsight, it was the same repeatable gap down setup on Dish. And then we have CLDX, we have Starbucks, and we have MRNA. We played the MRNA to the short side. We did Tesla to the gap fill, and we did short IWM at open. QQQ chopped us out, got some loss on the QQQ at open. We'll discuss that. And there was a bunch of plays. Apple was basically the downtrend channel breakout. Microsoft was strong at open. AMD was fading, and then Google was our swing play. So as you see, nothing much, but definitely some good trades that we would like to recap and see how we did in the community. Okay, let's start with the first play. So first, let's look at the IWM. So IWM, we had our level drawn on the pre-market. You see, this was the level that I gave in the pre-market, and then as soon as it broke it under EMA Clouds, so I said it's a bearish mode. So it was a bearish, and I did say hold, it will give more lows. As you see, give more lows, and 172.80 needs to break further for more downside, because it was fading right at open. As you see, 9:35 I said that, and it had faded by 10 a.m. to 173. But I wanted to see this level breakdown. It never reclaimed. If you were short, you stay short, or you add more, average down, so that you can have a lower average, but you're already in the money. And then I also said if you can't trade IWM, you can trade the other ETFs. But hold short, we get some more. Still not making higher highs, still heavy. That's what I said at 10:30. Still heavy. IWM trying to bounce. The first candle came here it tried to, first time it tried to bounce, but then it still could not reclaim that leg. Jai was on top of IWM as well, and then it all the way went to 170, 140. So all day fade on IWM, right? So it was on the top watch list, and we noticed this right away. It was a good trade for options, and a nice fade of almost $3 per share there. So this was IWM, guys. Keep eyes on all these ETFs, SPY, QQQ, and IWM. So IWM was weak today, and that led to the weakness in lot of those mid caps, which are few $1 billion in market cap, or the growth stocks were weak when IWM is weak, like PLTR, Rivian, those kind of stocks are really weak. So so that was a good catch this morning on IWM right at open. Let's look at the next play. So BNTX was on the watch list today, was gapping up, some good news, and right at open it made a big push, of course amateur move. And then I was watching the pullbacks to add it for long, and when it pulled back and it reclaimed 100, that's when I added. I risked $1 on BNTX. I risked $1, so I wanted to see the push, and it did push for a bit. So I added on the pullback. It did push on a bit, but then it could not get over 102, and the market was heavy. And then finally it gave over the 512 EMA Clouds, and I knew that once it gives up, and then it's going to pull back to the lower EMAs. So just then I caught it under 101, took almost a dollar, less than a dollar loss, and just moved on. So that was BNTX. So let's look at Tesla today. So Tesla plan in the pre-market was simple. The bias was neutral, but I did say that there is a gap fill under 222.80. So this was 222.80 level, right? And then initially the first move they tried to hold it. So when they tried to hold it, no position yet, and I did expect it that if they are pushing it, they can push it back to 227. So I even said that we might push to 227, but that was an amateur move. That was just it was initial move, and I did think that it would hold it, and it trapped a lot of longs there. So even if you were long, you could have changed your bias when it started to fail. But anyways, so it tried to push, it rejected, big time rejection, big time, and then it broke the 228 level that we talked about in the pre-market planning. So when it breaks that level, all you want to see is that next candles gets rejecting or makes a lower low, lower high, and then that's when they go into the gap fill. So if you see, here's when I said Tesla in the gap fill now, and Tesla making the gap fill, amateur move rejected, PM high levels almost 227, and then they rejected it, right? And then my target on Tesla gap fill was 220.40, 220.40, and I did say tell everybody to avoid longing it because it's a B minus long. What's a B minus? It's against the trend, low probability trades. So, and then it was just the guidance to hold the Tesla short towards the 220 gap fill of target. And I said if it breaks 220, right here you can see, if it breaks 220, then it can see lower, and next target was 280.50. And the point is, even if you try to long, when the system turned bearish, you should turn bearish right away, and that was amateur move. Those who attended my webinars or remember my teachings, that was the amateur move, and then came the primary move, trend move, and that was my target, 218.50 for the final gap fill. And after that I think it started to bounce, and you could see this big bounce right into 512 EMA Clouds. It was a decent bounce, because from the previous support, but it never confirmed the bullish trend. and that is when Win came in, and Win shorted Tesla. So he shared his bearish bias. He shared his bearish bias. He gave a risk of 222. He gave a risk of 222, and after that it kept going, and it hit my 218.50 target for the gap fill short. So you can see this gap fill, right? So it hit that target, and once that breaks yesterday's lows, it can keep going lower. Low can keep going lower. So and then yes, so then it was all about Tesla, managing your Tesla trade. I did not capitalize it on personally, but a lot of people in the community were able to capitalize it, and you could see the guidance from the Win, and then all the target met up. So after that it tried to bounce few times, but when it started to hold here at 215, that's when I said, if you are looking for a bounce, it's a C minus bounce, it's against the trend bounce, you can use 215 as your risk, because I saw a one hammer candle here. That's why 215 as your risk, because I saw a strong green hammer candle. It pulled back 215, and even we talked about the buyers at 215. Frank shared Tesla 215 buyers in the community. So here, yeah, 215 buyer was a medium size buyer, because we look at the book map. So we knew, right, that 215 has to be used as a risk. Then again, Win came in. He liked the setup as well, and even he longed it. He longed it versus 215. And then you can see 512 EMA Clouds turning. Here you can see turning 512 EMA Clouds. Then we scalped it. So then we scalped it, and then it turned from 512 here. So you can see, right, first it bounces from 15, the buyers 1 2 3 4 candles, it turns 512 EMA cloud back up, and then it pushes back higher into 3450. Clean risk reward, pushing over 3450. So basically from 216 risking $1, you got to 1950, you got $3.50. Almost one risk to 3 reward trade. And I did say move the stops up to 218 when it was pushing, and then we did push way higher. So this was the trade, guys. Tesla gap fill in the morning and then reversal. You don't really try to reverse. It's always, this was high confidence because I could see this hammer here, right? And there was a lot of extension on ATR. So that was little high confidence, but still it's a bearish trend. But when it turned 512 EMA clouds, you can always add into it because it's turning bullish. The system is turning bullish. So that was really a good one today, Tesla. Really proud of this one. Let's go to the next one. So let's look at our MRNA setup. So MRNA was on the watch list today. Initial view pre-market was bullish bias versus 77.50 or a breakout of 79.30. So you see these two levels I had in the pre-market, and it rejected from that 77.30 area. And when it rejected and it broke down, I was no longer having a bullish bias because it was breaking down lower lows, lower highs under the EMA clouds. So my system was telling me that it's no longer bullish bias. So I said right after 4 minutes, right, I saw the price action, I said the MRNA is in a bearish bias, and bearish bias for short, still heavy for bearish bias. And I shared my target, which was 72.91, which was based upon this yesterday's daily area. That was my target, and then we hit our target soon enough by 11, and then it was still heavy, right? So I covered most from the morning level of 77.50, and then I left 1/3, and then we hit even lower. We hit almost under 72. So from the 77.50 level this was a fade of almost $5-6. So that was the MRNA trade, short trade today. So if it was not for MRNA trade, the morning was not really doing that good, but finally this came out and then we were able to grab it. There was another, let's look at another play. So ENPH was a call by Win. Such a good trader is Win is. So he was so he saw the weakness, right? He saw ENPH breaking under this 1 hour level. If you see this chart, this 1 hour level, it broke, and he saw that and he used 80 as his risk, because 80 psychological number, and he called for a short, and then ENPH slid from 80 79.50s to 76.25s. So it's just like things like this, ENPH and the one with MRNA. That's the beauty of the community. You keep eyes on so many things that are moving, and of course we miss some too, but all you need is few good trades like this. ENPH fade at open, MRNA fade at open. So beautiful trade, ENPH idea by Win. So let's look at Apple, guys. So Apple idea was actually my public idea that I shared yesterday on this downtrend channel, and right at open it started to break out. So the breakout came right at open, as you see, before, after, right? So this was the idea today, and it broke out right at open out of that channel, and then I expected to go higher if we break today's highs today. So Apple was strong all day because of the breakout that I showed you, and I had this breakout yesterday, not even today, and then Apple held 34.50 and continued to push. So even in the community I was sharing why Apple is, a lot of people made good money on this, even on Twitter. So very proud of this idea, because it was a clean setup and right at open. So then I gave a level of pullback 177.50 for a reversal trade. Then it hit this 178 area. EMA Clouds moved up, and then it bounced and pushed higher. So it was a simple setup on Apple. Let's discuss the next one. So Meta was a midday trade for us. So what happened with Meta was, I like this setup. So this was the trade. So I like this setup of this flag break. I said I like the setup 3 versus 315.90 flag break. So this was our risk, and risk was like 70-80 cents, and then it started to work. It was working pretty nicely. We pushed to 318.30s almost, and I logged a little bit there, because when it pushed higher I logged a little bit there. And when then it was coming back, I said it's coming back, make sure the green does not turn red. And it was chopping 512, and then it pulled back to EMA Clouds. And then I finally closed my last, my full size. I mean, I closed 1/3 there, and then I had to close because 512 was breaking down. So probably a red trade if I take my commissions in, but plan was simple. The risk management was good, so no worries. So that was Meta scratch trade. So let's take a look at Google. So Google basically, guys, is just a swing. The idea was from last week. The idea was this gap trade. The initial risk was 128, and any pullback to 128 was an add. And Google held its own today. So Google held its own today. If you see Google, a dip, and then reclaimed EMA Clouds. Of course, market was choppy, so everything had a tight range. Everything had a small ATR today. Google just traded 167. So today was a tight range day. It was a normal day. We'll talk about more in SPY QQ. Anyways, so QQQ held that the 1 hour on Google is holding this 512 EMA Clouds nicely. So Google is still a swing. Stops can probably be moved higher to 128.70 area. There's a resistance up coming here. So we'll see how that goes. So now let's look at SPY QQQ, guys. SPY QQQ was chop all day. I tried to trade the pre-market high breakout on QQQ. That did not work out. So I had to cut it, even though it was, but I was trying for the morning push trade. So that was a failed trade on QQQ. And after that I realized that's just a chop, it's no use playing it. So that was a little loss here on QQQ. As you see, we try to break out, even though SPY never broke out. So SPY I knew that's not gonna work. But QQQ I was still interested to see that maybe we push higher the breakout over here. And then we went into this chop. So you see I was sharing this all day this range, and we went into chop, and then we broke the 512s, and then we broke the range. When you break the range, then you can trade. So you could trade the scalp short here. So folks could trade the scalp shorts here. I mean, range was still like $3, nothing special, but you could still scalp this. You could avoid this area, but when it started to break down, then you could have scalped it, right? And but I try to avoid these days. If you look at SPY and QQQ, guys, if you look at SPY QQQ, it's just a range bound action. I mean, we have been going crazy last few days, so it's normal we get this tight range day. So nothing wrong with what the action today, right? It's just a sideways reset day. We'll keep eye what happens tomorrow. If you look at the SPY daily chart, we have a big resistance here that we really need to break right here at 436.50 area, and then we have this resistance area right here. So we have that. There's a gap actually, this resistance area from 36.80. Yeah, I think gap filled once. Yeah, it filled once. This was the last reject when we rejected on that gap fill. So this area, guys, is very important. This is where we rejected last time. So anyways, guys, so today was a chop on SPY QQQ. We did break down this range. I did share this before and after when this range was breaking down. But today was not the day to trade SPY QQQ. I personally lost on QQQ in the morning, so I stepped away, because it's just a normal market cycle, guys. And a lot of stocks were down today. Lot of stocks were down today. I mean, if you look at fintech, if you look at the fintech was getting crushed. Clouds were getting crushed. All the cloud stocks were not really doing good. D-Dog has been selling for a long time. 1 hour is bearish. Everything. Splunk. So anyways, guys, so that was the wrap. Slow day, nothing much. We got a few trades in, small losses. And hopefully tomorrow is better. Watch those SPY QQQ levels. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.